best thing about being a freelancer for me is the freedom that you can create as a freelancer. However, as I say, you have to create and then protect that. So I'll give some examples of the freedom I'm talking about. So, for example, it can be things like working with clients that you would like to work with, on projects that you would particularly like to work on, working when you want, from where you want, who you work with in terms of collaboration as well as the client. So all these elements can create a level of freedom that can be very satisfying as a freelancer, particularly if you've moved from being an employee. And obviously, if it was in a very restricted environment, even more so. But even if you're in a relatively entrepreneurial business where you had quite a lot of freedom, you can still create more of that if that's something you would like and want in your career. But the real danger of this is that people think that by going freelance or even starting a business, but we're focusing on freelancing here, gives you that freedom automatically. And it absolutely does not. So you need to be really careful about your time, who you choose to work with, all these elements to make sure you maintain and keep that freedom. It's a mistake I made, and it's a mistake I've seen dozens of new freelancers make, is that you get into agreements with demanding clients. You give up your time in terms of saying you'll work at specific times for a client during the week. Perhaps you work on projects that you take on which you didn't really want to be doing, but you're doing it for the money, or you sort of felt you should be doing it because you're helping somebody out. And all these different elements, you can start to just give up little bits of that freedom until you erode it. And you get to a position where I've seen freelancers burning out because they're working ridiculous hours. They're working when they don't want to be working. They're working for clients that they didn't really envisage doing so beforehand, and on projects which are not particularly satisfying for them. So you really need to work hard to create that environment at the start and then protect it as best as you can, because the freedom absolutely does not come just by being freelance. There is not any sort of magic switch that you go freelance and all of a sudden you have an element of freedom. It's up to you. It's your responsibility to create that freedom. And the best thing you can do is when you are transitioning to go freelance, or you're working towards that element, maybe you're doing some work on the side and you're building that up before you go fully self-employed, is to list all the things that matter to you in terms of freedom, if that is an element that you want to have as part of a freelancer, which is one of the most popular reasons, in fact, the most popular reason cited in the UK for going freelance. So if that's you, you're in that category, it's best to have a list of these things that you want, and then you have that there, almost like your core values of your freelance business, and you can reflect on those when you're making decisions about, taking on new projects, working with clients, maybe if it's collaborating with a partner in terms of freelance support in a different related skill. So all of those things you can have noted down, have a very clear purpose of what you want to be doing, and that's something you can reflect on. It should be a dynamic document as well. You may look back after Q1 or after 6 months of being a freelancer and reflect and make some updates because you've learned some things that actually you do like that, or what you thought would be an important thing for you is less important. You're willing to maybe sacrifice that to get some extra benefit, for example. So that's really one of the best things I find about being a freelancer. And if you can create it, it's absolutely fantastic, because then you do have this wonderful position of being able to work whenever you want, with whoever you want, on projects where you're making an impact, you're adding value, you're getting a lot of satisfaction from that. And if you're talented and you build your skill set, obviously you can get paid handsomely for that work as well. So overall, as a package, it can be really satisfying, the freedom you can create. But to finally stamp it home, you have to create and then protect that freedom to make sure you're getting out of freelancing what you wanted in the first place.